Hello, welcome to another video. This is Zombicide. This is a game which is basically so big you might well see the edge of the table. The reason for that is in this setup, which is for mission 1, as you see, I haven't taken stuff out of the box. It's a huge box, and I may well do that as another video. But for now, I just want to show you the how to play mechanics of it. So, the rulebook initially, just to show you the setup, and then basically going from there. It'll tell you how to set the game up, and I will tell you a few differences between the original Zombicide and this one. It won't be an extensive video. This is just basically showing you how to do a turn. It is straightforward, and this basically indicates where you start. So initially, you'll be able to say who wants to be with which hero, and you put a color base on them. So they start in this location. That is down here, which is there. So all the heroes will go there. That's all 6. It's a 1 to 6 player game. I have played it solo. The first time I played it was yesterday, and it was enjoyable. I've played it as a 6 player as well. It seems to take a lot longer, which makes sense, because more people are making decisions cooperatively on what they think they should do. The other thing is knowing that if you control multiple heroes, which is if you play with fewer than 6 players, what you end up doing is thinking, well, I think I'll send him first, knowing you already know roughly the abilities of your other character you're controlling. You can play it with more than 6 players. You can get expansions for it as well, so that goes up to 7. As solo games go, I did actually enjoy it. It wasn't a game that I lost. It was enjoyable. It does say for veterans you can play solo, and it was nice to try that out. As for playing with multiple characters, I've played the first Zombicide game, which is called Zombicide, as a 2-player game. I played it initially as a 6. We actually lost for I think it took about 3 or so hours. A fully painted version, and for example, there are different characters in the game. You have walkers and you have runners, as like the original game, and somebody puts 2 stripes down them to make it a bit clearer that these are runners. So, when you control multiple characters, that's going to be the case, again, like I said, if you're playing with 5 or fewer players. And this moves on to the review slightly as well. I would definitely say even numbers are best. So divisibility is best. So if you can play with 2 or 3 players, you're controlling 3 or 2 characters respectively. If you're playing with 4, then somebody's going to have to control 2, which is fine. It's the same in a 5-player game. Somebody's controlling an extra character. But obviously that doesn't necessarily unbalance it. Yes, you could have somebody who's played the game before, and it works in that respect. I just think it's better. Of course, the game is very good in the sense that you can jump in and play with one of those characters, though, if someone's wielding 2. I'll come on to wielding, and specifically dual wielding, which has created a lot of buzz on the forums as to exactly what that means. It doesn't clarify it in here. Zones are very well clarified in here. This is a big rule book. It's, I think, bigger than the original. It's a bit of a monster, literally. This is set basically in a medieval time where a necromancer has come along and changed things around. It's quite a nice addition to the game because typically what could happen is you draw cards, which I'll show you here. These are yellow cards representing for the monsters. And if you reveal a necromancer card, what happens is he will spawn. When he spawns, he can basically produce more stuff, and you can lose the game if he escapes out one of the exits. So I'll just set the game up briefly. I've already set this up for mission 1. I played yesterday a couple of times on both mission 0, which is the initial quest, and mission 1. So you're going to get tokens such as these. This is basically where zombies spawn. So you chuck them down where the relevant things are. So let me just chuck down a couple just to give you an indication of how it works. These player boards are double-sided, and they can have numbers indicating what happens. What I don't recall seeing this in the original, is actually the specific layout. So even though you have 9 bottom left, what you still need to do is actually make sure it's orientated the right way, which isn't necessarily right. So I would definitely say, I hope they do that for Green Horde, which is the next big box variant of it. You've also got these kind of trapdoor portal things, which again is, I guess, that medieval kind of sciencey, spellsy stuff, which lets you either go out another place, or it basically acts as another way of getting around, and things can be hidden. So those come into play, and you need to break them open and get in there and out to the other place. Monsters can follow you, so the zombies can go there too, and you don't spawn zombies, which I'll come on to how spawning works. So the game starts whereby you have an objective. In this case, you need to destroy an abomination and a necromancer. So we've seen a necromancer. He's going to come out at some point in that deck, and this is an abomination. Much harder to kill, and I'll show you what exactly happens on each player board initially. So you start the game, and you're going to get something like this. These things aren't in the original Zombicide game, so this is a difference. These are pegs, which basically show you how much health they have. They start on 0. Well, basically, I guess, lives spent. Reach 3. As soon as they reach 3, they're out of the game. They will start on an initial kind of ability. So it's basically this person can use a magic spell for free. It's kind of a game whereby you want to meet up, do stuff, exchange stuff, and then battle and fight and level up. Unlike the original one, which uses pretty much a paperclip kind of thing, this one's a bit more notchy, which is good too. You can't easily knock it as well. So that's effective. And you're going to be going through the game, and you'll be moving, and then zombies will spawn. And as they spawn, you basically can get points. So you basically get 1 point, and as per one of these things, it'll move up. Now, as you move up into yellow, they now have an extra action. Move on to orange, you can choose one of those 2 things. So you just put your marker there, and it shows you what you now have. But you kind of want to level up at the same time, because as you move up to the next level, you have more things coming out typically. So you have more runners, you have more fatties, which are basically monsters which take a bit more to kill. So what happens here is this is your starting equipment. So you can choose just to go on anybody's character. It makes sense as he's a magician to give him the magician stuff. And what he can do is he can attack from a different range. So he can be next to them, like melee attack, or he can be away a zone by 1. And I'll come on to zones. He can throw 1 die, and he hits on a 4+, and he can hit a level 1 baddie. Level 1 baddies are everybody but fatties, which are level 2, and the abomination, which is 5. So these things will spawn. Now, some of them things might say double spawn. It might say, move everything again once, move a certain thing again once. It's a big deck, but every card has gone through once last time we played it. So what do you have to do? In this instance, like I said, kill the abomination, so he'll come out eventually. You also have objective tokens. These are just things which, if you reach them, you spend an action to pick them up, and then you move up again 5 places. So in this game, you must reach all the objective tokens, pick them all up, which would be sort of moving people up too, and also take on the necromancer and the abomination. So somebody might start over here. Everyone starts in this instance over here. And there's going to be a place to get into, which are doors. So as here, it shows you exactly how you lay out doors. Everything's come bagged. You can basically grab a door, which has a symbol like this. It's closed, and if you break it open, it's now open. So how do you open a door? You move across one as an example. Actually, he won't be able to do it, so let's use somebody who can. This person, Samson, so he can attack from 0 range. So he's green, he goes in for 1, he has 2 actions left. He tries to open that door, he needs to hit on a 4. He does. So that door opens. What happens there is it creates zombies appearing. So we take the first card, and it's a 0, we're still on blue, and a walker would appear in the first room and then in the next room. So the next room is a fatty. So if we're controlling 2 players, we need to go around and take on, for example, the fatty, if we want to. If we don't, and everyone's moved, then it's the zombie's turn. Out of interest, starting equipment. So red, he does have an ability to get a fatty, because he's got a 2, which means he'll have to go in 1, 2, and hopefully get it. If he goes 1, 2, and he doesn't destroy it, as I said, it's now going to be everyone else's turn, and it's now the zombie's turn. What he could do, or somebody else could do, is go over here and do a search. So if they're in a zone, maybe they've cleared them out, they can get an item. So in a building, they get a zone, they get a dragon bile. So this is quite useful when I talk about the abomination. If you can lay that down in either where you are or the place next to it, and then you get a torch, you place both those cards down, you then lit the dragon bile, and in the first game it was called a Molotov Cocktail, basically a petrol bomb. So you need petrol and you need a lighter or something like that, and it basically can destroy this abomination. Okay, and that's part of the game 1. It'll actually destroy everything in that tile, and somebody's going to level up greatly. Now, the downside with these cards is you can get some negative things. You can get R's, which produce an extra walker. The reason why you might want to do that, I'll come on to, but it's probably best you don't do it as your final action in case it does create one. So imagine everyone's been. Now it's the turn of the zombies. So anybody who's in the same space as a zombie, well, they just then basically automatically win, so they've lost. You can get armor, which means if you roll a 5 or a 6, then you're not dead. So an armor would be in here, and you can change and exchange equipment in the same space as somebody, costs you an action, is you can wear armor. So an armor is a symbol that you can put basically on your person, say down here, well, basically here, but in this instance, everybody has an ability, so he can hold a sword, other people can hold a dagger, other people can hold a shield. So that's something you can do. So basically, you roll, if you hit a 4, 5, or 6, then you're not dead. You can see you have other slots here too, so you can put other things in here and then arrange it will cost you. That's the torch that I mentioned. You have other things such as great sword and things which basically means you can re-roll ranged attacks. This is a backpack symbol, so these slots down here are basically where you can keep them, and it's always active. Punchy symbols, so everybody has 2 hands, so if it's a hand symbol, you have 1 here, 2 here, but sometimes you can kind of have a 3rd hand if you wish. So that's how everything works. If you know there's only, say, 5 R's on the deck, and you might have counted out 5, so you might be fine for a while. So now it's the zombie's turn. So imagine he could be disappeared out of the game. It did happen in one of our last games, and that was negative. It meant actually we had to play with 5 characters, went down to 4, but we still won. Some games mean everybody must win, or everyone stay alive. So imagine nobody was in here, then he would move out, they move across. So move 1 zone. Now this is just 1 big zone. So if it's, generally speaking, if it's the edge of a natural tile, then that is a new zone to move across. Now, when they move, that's it, nothing else happens. Then we do spawning. So spawning is we start in clockwise order, so it doesn't really matter where you start as long as you go clockwise. I'm just using 2 zones in this instance. You do this one, it produces 1 walker. And over here, we'll get 1 fatty. So that's how that starts. Now, sometimes when you level up, it isn't as bad. It does vary a bit. Now, if you produce a necromancer, so a necromancer would be, it might be under one of these things. It's basically looks like this. So you'd leave your initial marker in play, and imagine it creates it to be spawned. It kind of goes here, then immediately generate another yellow of these things, and then it'll get something as well. Whilst it's in play, that necromancer will win, or you'll lose, if it can get to another exit. So he'll then spawn, and every turn he's going to move once. So any time you get another necromancer card, he just moves an extra turn, and he's going to try and get out of this corner. That's an example, but in this game, there's actually another one over here, or over here. So he's going to try and move and get out, so you need to try and get him and kill him. If you kill him, you can take off the spawn zone. The last thing to point out about the game is dual wielding. So I'd mentioned that slightly earlier. So this person has a short sword. If somebody else, or they, because maybe they can get it to him, can get a short sword, then what happens is you can dual wield it, which basically means they could sort of have 2 actions in one. That's a beneficial thing to do because you're throwing twice the amount of dice, so 1 for each one. And so normally throw 1 each. Plus, so for 1 action, you're throwing 2 die, and they can both cause a hit. And that means they can both knock out a zombie each, which is very powerful. So that's a great thing to do if you can. Searching is a good part to do in the game too. I mentioned about weighing. I'm not planning to weigh the game right now. It takes about 20 minutes to set up, 20-30 minutes. And that includes, I think, just checking your rules, checking everything's okay, getting the right bits in place. But yeah, that's Zombicide, and this is Zombicide Black Plague. So I look forward to doing a weighing and a kind of unboxing, maybe a setting up, maybe a run through as well. And yeah, if you like the original Zombicide, it feels a bit different. It feels like it takes a little bit getting used to in terms of just like the look and feel of it. but with high reviews of people thinking of the Zombicide series, how they've gone along, we look forward to playing the rest of it. So enjoy. Thanks very much.